Welcome to Future Bites, our Future Green podcast, where sustainability meets real-world action. And I'm Heidi Sparrow, founder of Future Green. I'm thrilled that you're here today. I'm super excited because I have not only one guest, but I have three guests. The Chinese international school team, otherwise known as CIS. They've been walking the talk on sustainability for years, embedding what they do into school culture, inspiring both students and the wider community. So today we have Jerry. Jerry, I've never pronounced your second name actually. Zombathi.
Very well done.
Okay. Jerry Zombathi, who heads up operations at the school. We've got Nadina Schneider. She is sustainability integrator for the older students, I want to say upper school, and Monica Lowe, sustainability integrator in primary school. So hi, everyone.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, thanks for being here. So we're going to talk about some of your incredible initiatives, because you've done a lot, from rethinking food systems on the campus. You do some composting, there's roof growing space. You also hosted a fantastic Biodiversity Summit, student-led, I should add. So that was pretty cool. That was this year, of which I was honored to be one of your guest speakers amongst many wonderful speakers at the summit. That was early 2025. And I can really honestly say firsthand that the energy and the creativity and the passion from the CIS students was really inspiring, but also the faculty, the energy behind the teachers sort of helping to shape that day. So let's dive straight in now into how CIS is working with our next generation of sustainability leaders. What does it really mean to weave, sustainability, biodiversity, all these kind of abstract concepts for those who are new to sustainability? How do you really weave these ideas into education, and what's next on the CIS journey? So that's what we'll be talking about. So if you're a sustainability educator, leader in the school sector, in the universities, or if you have a canteen in your business space, this podcast will be hopefully useful to you. So let's start with some intros. Let's go with perhaps Jerry first, and then move to Nadina. Just maybe in about 60 seconds or less, just introduce yourself. Who are you?
Hi there. My name is Jerry Zombathi. I'm Canadian. I've been living in Hong Kong for 15 years now, and for the last almost 10, I guess, I've been the director of operations at this school.
Brilliant. Thanks.
Monica?
Monica. Yeah, Monica, go ahead.
Hi, I'm also from Canada, and I've been in Hong Kong, I lost count after 20 years, and working in different international schools. And so I was so excited and thrilled when I got to join the esteemed staff at CIS. And this is my third year. I work in the primary division, and I'm a sustainability integrator, meaning I work with teachers to find meaningful opportunities to integrate sustainability concepts into their units of study. I also work with a group of very passionate young students. We form a team called Green Team. It's my dream team. And we work together to find ways to further our green actions to make the school even greener.
And I love, Monica, that you defined what aggregator was, because I'm like, oh, how do you define that job role? Sustainability integrator. And I love that it sounds very inclusive. So thanks for helping us understand what that really means. Nadina, who are you?
I'm a Monica, but for the older students. I am from Australia, and I have been at CIS for about 12 years and do love the school, which is why I have stayed so long. But my background is in design, and so I was a design teacher, and then CIS, forward thinking as it is, was considering how do we think about sustainability into the future. And so I took on this role with Monica 3 years ago, and so I work with secondary faculty, looking at how we embed sustainability into the curriculum, and then supporting students on an array of initiatives to empower them for the future.
That's great, and we'll be diving into some of those later on. Can I just say the fact that you have sustainability in your official titles, it really shows the people in the space, us, everyone around us, that you're taking sustainability seriously. It's not just a volunteer role, which I see so often, that it's just a parent or a student, not to say it's not enough, but the fact that the school has people dedicated to this work really shows like you're taking it seriously and things are really moving forward. So that's something that I want to shine a light on, that it's important to have people in roles where they are measured like other roles, and in terms of the success of the work and KPIs and all the rest of it, that there is a dedicated person with time allocated, not just when they can find time because they're volunteering and they've allocated resources. So I just want to celebrate the fact that there are 3 people's roles, really time put aside for this area in sustainability, which leads me to the question: how did you manage that? What is in terms of getting resources around sustainability? Obviously, you have your Vision 2030 strategy, so you got that buy-in early on, but that couldn't have been easy. So maybe I can ask you, Jerry, how is it that you managed to get a strategy together? Tell us about the early days, because it couldn't have been easy getting the strategy and then getting the buy-in.
Yeah, great. Great segue into this. I would say that we are blessed in that our head of school has a very, very clear vision about where we need to go in this regard. So he has set the bar for us, or set a target for us, I guess, to be net zero in 2033. And it has embedded it into our latest long-range strategic plan. And so we are compelled by that vision, that plan, to work towards that goal. And so it touches basically all aspects of our operations, from food to transportation to waste management to procurement.
Uniforms,
yes. Recycling. Yeah.
That's amazing. And that's just so transparently clear. It has to be embedded. It can't just be a little project over here where you have a sort of a plant-based led, like Meatless Monday, right? That
No,
it really
exactly
is
right.
symbolic.
I think the key is that it is central to our operations now, and it can't be something that's just tacked on, or that
Exactly.
it's a project given to somebody that's hired into a role in an organization. They have to have the leverage to do all the disruptive things that need to happen in order to, become sustainable.
I love that you've made that clear, because I see it over and over again where schools are just trying to do little projects and expect to get big impact. And I always encourage them, get the buy-in from the top. Yes, have the little project starting from the ground, but without that urgency and without the strategy at the top, it takes too long. We just don't have time with all the challenges we're having with especially climate change and everything else going on.
Yeah, and I would just add in that all those little projects are very important, and I don't want to downplay them. But what's really key is to coordinate them so that they are working synergistically towards, a larger end goal than just, let's say, diverting plastic from the waste heap into the right recycling channel. It's much bigger than that.
That's a perfect soundbite, Jerry. I'm going to use that. You've really nailed it. It has to be integrated. It has to be part of a bigger picture, let's say. So fantastic, because I remember when we first had our projects together, one of our first projects together was to support you in trying to define, searching for a sustainable caterer, because that's also quite complex. And in more recent years, a lot of upskilling. You've been involved in our carbon literacy courses and food sustainability foundations, but in those courses, you see it isn't just about single-use plastic, isn't just about looking for more plant-based food in our diets, or how you treat staff, making sure there isn't slavery in supply chains, fair trade chocolate. The whole wide range of challenges are pretty big out there. So would you agree that it's important to work with a range of partners? Because how could you how could a school actually find all the things they need? You've got partners for your transport system and, for your food, it's with us. How does that work? Does it take time to sort of find where the experts lie?
Yeah, I don't want to dominate this conversation, so please, ladies.
I'll give the ladies time afterwards.
But it's an ongoing process to identify partners who we feel are helpful and worthy to invest our time and effort in, and there are many. So we have to go at this from all angles. So it's not just recycling; it's procurement, where we buy things, where our suppliers procure things from. So yeah, it's many tentacles to the problem that we have to work on.
Takes a village, doesn't it? And different areas of expertise.
Everybody has
so let's talk about one of those amazing projects right now, activities, initiatives, whatever you want to call it. Your Biodiversity Summit was so impressive, I have to say. So I want to bring in Nadina at this point, and then perhaps, I don't know, Monica, you could also share a bit what the little kids were doing at it. But this summit that you hosted, you had fantastic, you had the students obviously come, and even from other schools, which I love. You had some experts come in, a range of experts, and then also the educators. Like, what sparked this idea? Why did you come up with this Biodiversity Summit? And tell us a bit more of the role of the students as well.
Yeah, well, we've run summits now for 3 years in a row. So you were involved in our first summit when we did and you were a great support when we did our sustainable food summit. We then did with a company called Behaviour, and we then did a summit about behaviour change in terms of sustainability. So we've always been trying to do something that's a little bit different. So we sat down with the students. We also work really closely with Metanoia and Taz, and it's like, what is going to be something that is done differently in terms of getting people to think differently about the world around us and the part we play in it. So that's where something like biodiversity really doesn't come to the forefront so much, and they're like, this is our chance to really showcase what biodiversity is and how important it is. Like, without our amazing world around us, we are not going to continue thriving. And so that's sort of what sparked it. It was, how do we do something that hasn't been done before? And that's how we sort of led towards biodiversity. And then again, this year we will have another one, and we are looking for another forward thinking. So if you have any ideas of what that could be, we would welcome to hear that.
I'd love to have a brainstorming session with you. But yeah, biodiversity, you can include so many aspects, can't you? There's the food, there's the soil, there's water, and the seafood. That's why it was such a great topic. You could help people understand the connections between all the issues in sustainability.
Yeah, and we were so lucky. We had so many people support us and partner with us on the day. You were partners with us, and you were great. But we had Kadori Farms. They were one day he was our keynote speaker, Dr. Andy Cornish. We had WWF, Rooftop Republic. Like, we had so many companies that went with us on this journey. And when we run these, it's all about opening it up to schools. We had a school come down from China to be part of the day as well. We just want to try and spread the message as much as possible.
Yeah, really great. You're in a perfect position to spotlight and lead on the conversation, I think. It's important to show other schools it can be done. It doesn't have to be a big, scary project.
Hey, sorry for the interruption, but just in case you don't know who we are, I want to welcome you to the Future Green, Future Bites podcast. I'm Heidi, and this is where sustainability meets real-world action in food. I'm the founder of Future Green, and I'm thrilled you're here. Before we dive into today's guest interview, I wanted to share more about what we do. We're not just consultants, we're changemakers, and we partner with communities, local suppliers, and underrepresented groups to co-create tangible solutions in food service sustainability. Whether it's designing strategy sprints, so that's our flagship workshops, or auditing supply chains, training teams with actionable tools, our mission is rooted in inclusion, impact, and transformation. And so in this series of Future Bites, we bring those stories to life. We are sitting down with inspiring leaders from our community, like our past meetup speakers or local chefs, sustainability trainers and social innovators, to unpack their journeys, their challenges, and ideas for a greener food future. So whether you're looking to source seasonally, reduce food waste, or just bring more equity into the supply chain through reimagining menus for climate, each episode promises hope, insight, and practical step forward. So before we dig into today's conversation further, please explore how Future Green can help you and partner with you in the food service industry so that we can bring sustainability from concept to kitchen. Now let's get back to our guest interview. And Monica just asked from your perspective, what was it like for the little kids? Because I worked with Nadina with the older ones. Did the little kids get involved?
No, the Biodiversity Summit is for secondary. Yeah.
Okay, so if this Biodiversity Summit is for secondary, how does sustainability look in the classroom for the little ones? How did you connect the classroom learning with these sort of real world sustainability challenges? Because biodiversity and climate change, they're kind of big words, a bit scary. How do you engage 4 to 11-year-olds on this topic?
So earlier we mentioned the Vision 33. So at that time, the school really made the decision to really move forward and on their sustainability journey. And to that end, they partnered with a lady by Jamie Cloud who designed the Education for Sustainability curriculum. And so we've brought her in to work with teachers. We've had 6 group of teachers go through training with Ms. Cloud now, focusing on, it's not about educating about sustainability, it's for sustainability. How do we nurture our children to be really thinking about the choices that they make and the impact on their future? So to that end, we started going through working with units one by one, finding those opportunities to really try to integrate and embed these sustainability concepts and thinking into the unit. And subject to that is really to take the content learning and skills and apply it to an authentic, real situation. I'll give you an example. In the unit, the year 5s, it's a unit about weather and climate. The recent T10, for example, really captures the importance of understanding our weather systems. And so one of their design challenges to design dwellings that would be typhoid resistant. So, and also understanding that we are all part of a system, how one part can impact another. And so that kind of thinking will help them think about the choices they make and how it would impact the future.
So the T10 being this huge typhoon we had in Hong Kong, actually there were 2, if I recall, and just really the images are just stark when you see them online as well, of how the big typhoons are affecting.
Yeah, so it's not just about understanding what a typhoon is, it's really like taking that further. Okay, we understand that we're all on this planet, we're affected by this weather. How does that impact our daily life? So what happens? So they take on the role of a designer. And so that's why when they make their designs and their models, they have to apply their understanding. And so,
nice.
And they're putting on the designer hat for future planning.
That's great, even at such a young age. Yeah, that's amazing. And so let's dive straight into a food, because that's my favorite space, talk about food, because we could talk about so many other things like water and fashion and all the other sustainability challenges. But let's talk a little bit about food and community engagement. So coming back to you, Jerry, CIS has been incredibly active when thinking about food systems. You guys have been involved with sort of upskilling in this space for quite a few years, because school dining is so important. Getting to grips with what could a sustainable food system look like, and in this case, in the catering space. So what changes have you made in the campus food program? Are there anything that you've done in particular that you're proud of? Maybe some things that you've had some challenges around, just to share. If another school were to transition, what should they really be aware of when they're thinking about how to move into a more sustainable catering space for students?
Yeah, thanks for that question. I guess your partner is really important because we don't have staff cooking food for children. We have 2,000 plus people on campus every day who need to eat. We're not providing that food out of our own organization. So we're working obviously with a contractor, and that's, in our case, that's Sodexo, to source and prepare the food and to deal with the waste afterwards. So we work very closely with them. I have daily conversations with the management of our food service provider, Sodexo. We meet regularly about meal planning and ingredients and sourcing and recipes, trying to move towards more vegetarian or meat-free type of choices. Waste management is another big thing because obviously our diners and the kitchen produce a sizable amount of food waste every day. And what do you do with that rather than send it to the landfill where it just rots and creates methane? So we have a garden, a plot of land that we lease from the government, which is just on the edge of the country park outside of our boundary. And we have a green team that are working on growing vegetables and other herbs and things, which when harvested get taken to the kitchen and incorporated into the meals. So we have a bit of a circular economy going there between composting, which we're doing on site in the garden from the food waste from the food services. And then that produces vegetables and herbs, which then go back into the kitchen. So that's a big effort, and making sure that our menus, our recipes are utilizing those ingredients and sourcing as much from local suppliers as we possibly can instead of importing from far away, like chicken from Europe or, whatever. So that's what we kind of work on. That's what steers our food efforts.
And those efforts, as you say, is so important because if you don't have a partner that believes in your strategy, believes in your direction, your approach, it's going to be very hard to align, isn't it? So I'm very pleased to hear you're actually meeting with them daily. That's quite intensive. Does it require that amount of relationship building to ensure that the procurement ideas are aligned, the sustainability ideas are aligned?
I think it's just an oversight. We want to have an active oversight of what's going on with that whole part of our operations. It's so important to everybody every day. So we just don't leave it to chance. We make sure that we're involved and we're pushing the agenda.
I love that. And I know that there are some, when you talk about local food, there's some local milk available. There are local snacks, chicken even, and people don't often think of Hong Kong having much of its own food growing. So I'm really impressed that the provider has made efforts to extend and really look for those partners because they're partners at the end of the day.
Heidi, sorry, Joe, just jump in there.
Jump in.
With our summit, our Biodiversity Summit, and I know you collaborated with Sodexo on the day to provide lunch for the Biodiversity Summit, and we wanted to do something a little bit different with the lunch we provided. I think that has been one of the highlights when I talk to the students now about that day, and as much as the experiences that they had of being down in our garden and all the different things, it's still that lunch that the students speak about, that chance to experience different foods that they'd never thought they'd be able to eat and actually enjoy. So that was definitely a highlight of Sodexo and you working with us to be able to provide like a biodiverse lunch and what that would look like.
I'm so glad you brought that up because for the experts out there that are very skeptical on plant-forward meals, I just want to say it's possible to have tasty plant-based food for lunch in a school canteen
Absolutely. And I even tried things I'd never tried on that day. And I'm like, wow, it's just so possible and tasty.
Yeah. And that was really the work of the caterer doing this, coming up with menu ideas. And we saw the lines, the students, and they went back for more because we try not to do big portions for waste, but students went back. I did get an insight that day that students are looking at portion sizes because they want to feel full. But I was really impressed. And those were the Future 50 foods based on that, really inspired on the Future 50 foods by WWF. So just to reiterate, it's possible for students to love plant-forward meals, not every day necessarily, but with some effort and some passion and love from the chefs and the caterer, it can be done.
And it's giving them that opportunity, because if we just served those things, they probably wouldn't have taken it. So it's about trying to expose them to it. And
yes, because we did a little activity beforehand. That's a nice segue into just asking Monica about how you sort of get the students excited about sustainability programs. But we did do the guessing of the carbon footprint, didn't we? And then we also had the seeds that we passed around. So that feely, touchy kind of what is in my food? What am I about to eat? Monica, maybe you can share a little bit about, how do you get the little ones excited? Because we can't use all these big words in sustainability. Like, what are the little ones doing?
Well, I mean, we have a really fun little activity that we use to start off our unit on healthy planet, healthy food. We ask our reception students to open up their snack boxes one day of the week, and then they in that unit they learn about where food comes from, and that certain foods come from animals, certain foods come from plants, and then there's some food that come packaged in a lot of wrappings. And so everybody takes out their snack box and they open it and they try to start sorting, and it leads into these questions. And mind you, there are only like 5, right? So they ask questions, and then we go through this sorting activity, and that leads into a conversation and a deeper study about where do food go? Some food biodegrades. Of course, we don't use that word, but some food would break down and some things don't break down. And how can we make better choices that is kinder to the planet? Another effort that we have in primary is to encourage our children to bring nude food, which is food without packaging. And often this could be homemade snacks. And we talk about how that could be more healthy than buying store-bought biscuits, for example, which could be much higher in sugar. So it's just trying to connect body, mind, and the soul and the planet all into one.
I'm glad that you use the term, it's good for the planet and good for health, because they should always be aligned. But I'm starting to imagine all of these parents competing on the lunch boxes and how to make them beautiful and pretty. When you talk about opening up the lunch boxes and really diving deep. I had a few years in Japan where it's very competitive what they put in, Japanese families put in the little
I've
lunch
seen some
boxes.
of those pictures. It looks
Really
like art.
Exactly, yeah. Not just good for the planet, not just healthy, but beautiful as well. What more could you ask for? Okay, so let's talk a little bit now, looking ahead. I know that you guys work with the Sustainable Development Goals. You've got your Vision 33. But maybe, Nadine, I could ask you, going forward, are there any challenges you're anticipating in sort of implementing and keeping this momentum for sustainability at the school? And do you have any tips for anyone trying to do what you're trying to do? What can we learn from you?
Oh, it's look, we've been in this role for 3 years, but we've certainly been on a journey for a long time before that. And really our whole journey on this started with students. Like, we had a group of students that were really passionate and advocating for Tetra Paks to be removed from our canteens, and they were successful in that. And so from there, that sort of got the school thinking about, how do we support these students even more? And then we moved into working with Metanoia and having the whole campus undergo an audit, which then gave us recommendations to go forward with. And then that set us on a much bigger path. But it just started small, and it has to start small, and you have to choose something that the community is really invested in and have success there, and make that really visible. And from there, you sort of create that community and culture around you of where we want to be as a certain community. So I think that's one way, if you want to get started, it's like, what is important to your community at that point to be really focusing on. And once you
get some small wins.
Yeah, exactly. And get a little bit of momentum, and go to bigger from there. And that's sort of how we've grown. And as Jerry said, we have an amazing leadership that support us in this journey as well.
Incredibly important, isn't it? And you have your cohorts that keep coming through as well, that you have to retrain, because we talked earlier about the design sprints, because I was incredibly surprised how they took to it so well, because something we normally run with corporates, when they're trying to design new products. But the students, whether they're 15, 16, 17, really took to that process to figure out what they want to do next in terms of their initiatives.
Yeah, so we have a senior group, a group in our 11 and 12s called Ditto, Drop in the Ocean. And so each year we have new leaders that come through, and they sort of advocate for what we need to work on in terms of sustainability. So those leaders will move, sort of role model to other groups about, we do things like waste audits, we do uniform sales, we do the summits. And so these big initiatives, these students actually drive, and we just support them in what that looks like.
Brilliant. I love that the students are really leading in this way. And then for you, Jerry, looking ahead, what is next for the coming year? What do you see in terms of projects that you're hoping to get students and parents and all your stakeholders excited about?
Right. So one of the key things I think about the journey for any organization is to record and track your progress. And so we have been working on that. We are continuing and increasing our work to reduce and optimize our operations, and to record and share the data. So we're tracking all of our waste and recycling streams. We know how much goes out month by month. And that is a useful bit of information, I guess, to feed back to the community so that everybody can take personal action. Because no matter what we do as an organization, it's going to require individuals taking effort. And so tracking our waste, measuring every day, and plotting that on a chart so that people can see what trends we're in, which way we're going. That's one way to drive behavior change, which is really what it's all about.
Yeah.
And so our next big effort is to get to zero waste. How can we reduce our waste output and optimize recycling, reuse, no use, etc., to get to a zero waste point as an organization, which is pretty challenging, but that's our sort of vision and goal. And then tacked onto that, we are in a development phase where we're going to be building a new school next door for our primary year levels, and a lot of that design work will incorporate, we already have environmental consultants on board for the design work. And so we're going to be looking to embed a lot more sustainability features into that site than were originally built into this particular site. So yeah, that's our next big effort.
That's very exciting. The technology must be changing too in terms of what you can do.
Yeah, upgrades to AC management, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, fantastic. And then finally, Monica, last but not least, can I ask, do you have any advice for people trying to do what you're doing at this wonderful school in terms of sustainability? Anything that can help others try to get to a CIS level of sustainability?
I think we should always stay focused on the positive and do things one step at a time. It does take a while for a good habit to form. So I encourage everyone to look within your own sphere of influence and just choose one thing one thing that you want to make a change. And I think Jerry earlier mentioned about keeping track of data. If you can make a commitment to yourself to stick to one thing and track it for, let's say, a month or two, you will find that it becomes a natural habit, and then you become a role model for others. So stay focused on the positive, make a small change one step at a time.
I love that. And data is so important, isn't it? But not being overwhelmed by it, because then you can celebrate the little milestones, but you can only do that when you track your data. So that was fantastic, guys. Thank you for taking the time to share CIS's story and sustainability. It will definitely be inspiring for other schools. I know we talk to a lot of schools that just don't know really how to get that momentum going, and there's never a perfect time. So I'm sure this story will help them think about all the little things that could spark a brand new idea, hopefully something a bit more comprehensive like you guys have with your strategy. So thanks again for your time. This was brilliant, and we'll be seeing you soon at our next monthly meetup, hopefully.
Okay. Thanks.
Bye.
Heidi.